So yeah, so I don't know if you caught me on the know-it-alls, not the know-it-alls, but the homies last week. But they breaking news came on while we were recording, and it was that T. Higgins had been tagged. And I told him, I was like, it's not breaking news. If you watch Running Through the Jungle, I think about week 14, we all said that he was going to get tagged this year. Is that breaking news? Is it really a big deal? Like, who didn't see the writing on the wall with that one?
Man, come on now. We all kind of knew that that was the direction that the Bengals was going to go. We just knew that it was going to be like pulling teeth when getting his extension done. I mean, the agent has obviously been a big talking point amongst his fan base. They have yet to negotiate a deal with Dave Mulligetta, but we already knew that tagging him was going to be the way to go, just to preserve that ability that he's still on the roster for 2024.
Well,
Yeah.
what other option did we have? We knew it was going to happen anyways. We're not going to just let T walk down the road and go sign with frickin' Kansas City or the Steelers or anybody in the AFC that is. So, it, it was obvious of what we were going to do and what they were planning on doing. Now, what's going to happen next?
I don't know, man. That's a loaded question, man. We'll get into that after we get into this. Welcome. We are running through the jungle. I'm your host, Brandon Herriott, here with your host, Tim Lyons, and your host who kept it down last week by himself. Golf clap, Mr. Justin Lacey. Thank you so much, sir. I was in Hotlanta. Working, and Tim came down with a little bit of the virus. And I'll be darned if I didn't bring it back from Atlanta myself. So I was down a little bit. So we're a little behind, and I apologize for that. But man, this thing's going around again. Justin, thanks, man. How you been?
Oh man, pretty good, man. Glad you guys are doing better. The viruses has been going around attacking everybody like wildfire. Hopefully, it hasn't made its way to me yet, but I feel like that at some point is going to happen.
Yeah, if you work in the public, it almost feels like it's unavoidable at this point in time. I don't even know what to say about it. I will say this though, I got the track jacket on, feeling good. We're getting ready for the underwear Olympics, the combine. I mean, don't get it wrong. I'm in the track jacket warm-up suit. I'm all about warming up. I'll stretch. I'll do the calisthenics. I ain't running a 40-yard dash. Mm-hmm. But the T. Higgins talk. Oh, yeah, I didn't do the like and subscribe thing. I had that tagged later in the show. But yes, go ahead, hit that thumbs up right now before we go any further. We appreciate you very much. But the T. Higgins talk, man, officially tagged. The difference with this one than the Bates one was the tag early, a little earlier in the game. And there's speculation that might be because they could field some more questions while they're at the Underwear Olympics, the combine that is, and kind of see what people are thinking around the league. Maybe see if anybody's willing to offer anybody up for him. Tim, what's your take on this?
I was happy that they got the tag done right away. Instead of us trying to play this game of, are we going to tag him or are we not going to tag him? There's so many options out there. I believe it's a pretty good wide receiver draft. So we'll get to see see what they're going to be able to do in the combine. But my biggest question is right before we cut to our intro was, what's next? You know, what's next for T? You know, I believe from what I heard, what Tobin is Tobin, right? Is that what his name is?
Tobin.
The
Duke Tobin. Excuse me. Sorry, I went blank there for a minute. When I was listening to Tobin speak, you know, he was like, you know, T. Higgins is our next year's plan. So is he actually truly our next year's plan, or are they going to do some kind of drug deal and get some picks? And, you know, we're going to be, you know, getting some more picks this year. We'll see. You know, April's coming along in a couple months. Well, actually, it's almost March, so you know, April's coming along. So you know, we'll see what the Bengals have in plan. Are we going to shock in all the world and trade T. Higgins and draft our tight end that we've been dying for the last God knows how many years? You know, or are we going to draft a tackle?
So I'm assuming if you think this is going to be what you said, a drug deal, that we might be looking to send T to Miami. Is that accurate? No? Okay.
It's a possibility.
All right. Or maybe you were thinking a little lighter on the maybe a legal drug. Maybe we're going out to Denver, maybe Seattle.
Like maybe 49ers, you know, San Francisco.
Okay.
You know, it's legal out here. You know,
I don't think we let the rich get that rich.
No.
But in all seriousness, Justin, what's your take here on tagging T early? You think it might lead to something, or is this a smokescreen?
I mean, I'm just glad that they got it out the way. It's only really two options that you can go along with this. You either do the tag and trade, or you just extend them. I'm glad that they got it out the way, so that way they're not, like Duke Tobin said, he's not going to be lingering with this when they already know that they were going to go in this direction right off the bat. So that guarantees you that he's under contract until up and through the 2024 season, which is great because we're looking to go all in and go for it all and win the Super Bowl. And we need T. Higgins a part of our team, not just want him. We need him a part of our team. He helps make the offense better. I mean, I'm going to sort of regurgitate those same things that Duke Tobin said. We're a better team with T. It's obvious. You know, he helps make Jamar better, even though Jamar is the engine that gets the receiving room started. T. Higgins is like the icing on the top because he's like a prime AJ Green without necessarily being AJ Green. That's who he sort of modeled his game after when he came out of the draft. And why not have that sort of explosion element on your team? Everybody that is clamoring for T to be traded in the national media or other fan bases across the Twitterverse or just not even just social media. Everybody wants that because they want T on their team because they know how explosive he can be. So you're going to get a lot of like talk back about people want to value T high, saying that you should trade him. But then the Bengals are smart to make this tag because if the tag and trade is going to be a thing, the Bengals are going to have a nice little asking price for T Higgins, and we're going to see if these teams are really about it. But at the end of the day, man, T's a great player. Keep him a part of your team. If the contract gets too much, you got options. So those are really my only two takes about it.
Yeah, and to be honest with you haven't had to look for the national media. If you can look right here at Road Through the Jungle, I've been saying tag and trade for, I don't know, about a month now. I do it because I see too many holes in this team's trenches that need to be fixed. And I think that that's someplace we can get younger and less expensive. And wide receivers have come out and really played excellent right off the bat, first year. That seems to be one of the places that you always see a rookie of the year candidate coming out. Puka Nacua this year, Wilson year before. Like it seems to be guys that you can get late first round, second round, even third round, or in Puka's case, fifth round. You know what I mean? Like there's some value out there. There's some guys, and this is a really good class, like Tim said. So I don't know, man. Could you use that money elsewhere and maybe get 2 stud defensive tackles? Could you get a stud defensive tackle, good right tackle? Could you maybe then have the ability to draft a little bit better as far as best player available, rather it be defensive back, linebacker, as Justin, you've alluded to, getting younger and progressing there. Like I think there's edge rushers out there. There's some guys that I think if we played our cards right with the tag and trade and and had some more capital there and were able to sign some free agents. I like the move to make the team better as a whole. Will I miss T? Hell yeah. I think T and Jamar are just incredible duo. But I do have some concern about injuries. And as I look at the team as a whole, that's just the way I see it. I think you'd be more effective moving those pieces around a little bit. Either of you want to rebuttal anything my take on that, or we'll keep it pushing?
No, I'm good. I think we've harpered on the T. Higgins situation quite a bit, on this show specifically, but more just again outside in sports media world in general. I think that the T. Higgins thing is just one. It was easily widely predictable, and like Tim said, we'll just see what happens next. But we were focused on making this team better overall as a unit, not just one player and not just one side of the ball. Overall, as a unit, this team needs to be ready to make another championship caliber run.
We all agree on that. So we'll get into the combine, the tracksuit, the underwear Olympics, which is kind of fitting since everybody knows that I'm Winnie the Pooh underneath this, right? That's a fun part about podcasting. You pick your shot, you get comfortable. But no, in all seriousness, Justin, who are you looking forward to in this combine? Rather it be somebody that's highly heralded that you think is going to really put on a show, or rather you think it's somebody that might be coming out of the woodworks a little bit underrated that you think might make some noise? Who you got on your radar for this week?
Well, as we're recording this episode today, the defensive line and the edge rushers were able to work out today. I think the defensive ends, the interior D linemen, and also the linebackers. I've been paying attention more to the interior, because I think that's our biggest need. It's no secret what I've already talked about. I feel like that they have just been a bad defense against the run and no interior pass rush up the middle. And I've just been working on just watching people to see how fluid and effortless they can make some of these combine drills. And so far, as we're recording today, the interior defensive linemen have already worked out for today. And it is by surprise that Braden Fisk, he's a guy that is just jumped off the charts. He had the fastest 40 time out of all the D linemen. Obviously, Tavondre Sweat is a guy that I'm keeping an eye on, but the number one guy that I'm making my number one mark on is Byron Murphy. I think Byron Murphy we were already projecting that this guy was going to test like a freak athlete before the combine started, and he's sort of living up to that billing already. Dude is a freak. He looks like that he's going to be the first defensive player off the board. But by the grace of God, you know, if he does slip past all those teams that need a hungry interior to get pressure up the middle, he's like the perfect three tech option. And if he can somehow land at 18, the Bengals should be inclined to make that their first pick. Even if a guy like Brock Bowers, who we are all clobbering for in social media spaces, I love the tight end, the move right there. But I think that interior is where it's at. Johnny Newton, well, his name is actually Jerzhan Newton, but he's going by Johnny Newton, the interior D lineman for Illinois. He is not scheduled to work out at all throughout this combine due to a foot surgery that he had partaked. But he will be working out during his pro day, and I'll be inclined to watch that when that happens. But he's also the other guy, to where I feel like that he can give the Bengals the best fit on that defensive front, and along with adding more talent. Because again, you got to go through free agency first and see how that settles. But nonetheless, if you whiff on some of the big names that I've mentioned before on this show, then Johnny Newton would be another great option for the Bengals at 18 if they can land a guy like him. But overall, man, I'm keeping my options open, because you got to come with the idea that other teams are watching these players too. And you don't want to get so caught up into the underwear Olympics, because that's exactly what it is. It's underwear ball. Nobody's going super full speed, but you're just watching the fluid ranges of motion within all these drills. Last year, when I was just watching the combine just as a normal fan, I watched the cornerback group, and not a group to watch, but the cornerbacks. The one corner that always stood out to me was Christian Gonzalez, and he was one of the first corners that was taken in the draft. And he would have, honestly, in my opinion, would have been
Very
defensive rookie
fluid
of the
hips.
year.
Yeah.
He is incredibly smooth with all of it. He didn't run the fastest 40 time. He didn't need to, but he ran an effective 40 time. When it came to the cornerback drills, he was absolutely just so smooth. I didn't see that a lot throughout some of the other guys like Emmanuel Forbes, even our very own DJ Turner, even though he did ran the fastest 40 last year. But that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking forward to see how you put all of these drills together and you just put the best foot forward out there. So that's what I'm looking for so far during this combine week. Again, it's only just day one of watching the drills for me, and we got other position groups coming in the next few days.
Tim, I know one guy that you're interested in looking at here in the next few days, but let the people know who are you excited to see in this combine?
There's this running back out of Notre Dame. They call him the little bus. His name is Estime. That dude is cut. I think he's going to be. I think they said that he's like the top, probably going to be the top running backs in the 40. You know, there's like between him and I can't remember the other guy's name. I wrote it down, but I can't remember what it is. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Estime. Estime is like my, I'm a run the ball type of guy. You know, I know there's words about, maybe he'll best fit would be at Cleveland for Estime. You know, I don't want to see him in AFC North unless he's not in orange and black and stripes and white. That's the only thing. That's the only way that I want to see Estime in the AFC North. Estime, he is a talented running back. I watched him all year last year. He can run, and when he hits that hole, he's a wrecking ball, man. He is just. I think he's that piece that the Bengals are missing. But unfortunately, with the way that we're drafting, with the possible drafting, I think we're going to miss him. We're going to miss out on him. But you never know. Bengals might shock us this year and, draft a running back in the 3rd or 4th round. I don't know. But Estime is one of my big guys. Of course, I want to see what Bowers does, because I watched him play a little bit when he was with Georgia, but then he was hurt, so I really want to see how he looks. Like Justin said, it's the underwear Olympics. It don't mean squat. It really don't. It doesn't mean squat. But I'll tell you this right now, if Brock Bowers is as good as he looked the year before and part of this year, when he was playing, I'm running to the podium like a man on fire to draft him at 18. I don't care if anybody else is on the board still, because of course there's going to be. But if Brock Bowers is at 18, don't throw water on me. Let me run up to that podium and say the Bengals select number 8, for the 18th pick of the draft, Brock Bowers. Because that's what we've been needing. That's what we've been missing. But my other looks at another person I want to look at is Roman Wilson out of Michigan. They say he is like lightning out of a bottle and so fast. I just want to see how he runs on the 40. That's what I want to see. I want to see how fast he is. I want to see how he runs the drills. Is he going to be a Bengal? I don't know, but I still want to see how he does, and I just want to see what he looks like, how fast he runs. And then before we started recording, I was watching some of the combine, and linebacker out of Alabama, Dallas Turner, I think that's what his name was, ran a 4.47. That kid was booking it. Linebacker, just booking it. I don't remember what his stats were, how tall he is and big he is, but he was booking it. And then I was watching the defensive lineman run. When you got a 6'3", 320-pound defensive tackle running at, I think it was like a 5'2", 5'12", 5'15". Those boys, they be getting it. They be getting it.
Yeah, that's a good segue because, maybe it doesn't mean squat, but it does mean bench press. The underwear Olympics does, and I'm looking at defensive linemen, and we gotta quit getting bullied, being 31st in the rush.
Amen.
Rush defense, like we gotta quit being bullied. So I've been having my eyes probably on the defensive linemen and great that they started for me while I was with COVID and had to work from home. And lo and behold, it was behind me while I was working. Justin brought up Frisk, who ran a great 40 time, looked pretty good. But another thing that you brought up, Justin, and I really liked, you talk about the drills. And to me, he didn't look as fluid as some of these other guys in these drills. Byron Murphy looked excellent in the drills. I thought he had more bend. I thought he had more balance. I thought Frisk just had more speed, inline speed, if that makes sense. I thought, to your point, Tim, Sweat out of Texas, 2 Texas boys, for being 325 pounds, boy moved pretty well. And you could tell he wants it. Like, he wants it. Which, there had been some off the field talk about rather where he was going to be at or whatever. I think there's some drive there that maybe was misguided. But don't look at the blue amaze behind me. The guy that I really have my eye on for this, and I wanted to see going into it, is Chris Jenkins.
I figured you were going to say that.
I
figured you were going to say that.
Listen, he played for a team that was the toughest, strongest team in the nation last year. Ran the ball 32 straight times against the number 1 rushing defense in Penn State to win a game.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have the strongest guy on the strongest team, I'm interested to see what he does. And I thought he looked really good in those drills today. He ran a respectable 40 time. His 10-yard cut was at 1.7, which is good. I thought he had some good explosiveness, and he looks really strong. And he had 34-inch arms. When you look at Byron Murphy's 32. So you talk about keeping people off of you for rush defense. I kind of like that. It looked good to me. The other guy, and I'm going to butcher his name, Aurora. Aurora.
It's funny that you say that, because I actually watched the combine just so I can hear the pronunciation of his name, and it is actually pronounced Rook or Ro.
Aurora.
Yep. Or Ro. So I had to hear that
your
name.
Your boat gently down the stream. I can't wait. Listen, I like the way he looked. Bring him to the Bengals. We get maybe in that. I would love for him to be there in the 3rd round. Bring him to the Bengals. I don't know if he'll last that long after what I saw, but if we could get him the 3rd round, bring him to the Bengals, and we'll work on a nickname for him.
Well, you brought up Chris Jenkins. I mean, also what I find impressive about him, hell, if he's anything like how his dad was, Chris Jenkins Sr., he was, the NFL bloodline is there. He was an incredible player, man, for the Carolina Panthers. And when he went to New York Jets, he was just a freak of nature up in the middle, plugging in the run. He was one of the big forces of why the Jets had a great run defense in 2010. So it's a guy like him. So I would absolutely welcome a guy like that on our defense. I'm projecting Chris Jenkins Jr. to probably last at the end of the 1st round, early 2nd round. But that's where the Bengals got to be aggressive, man. And feel like, look, if this is a guy that you feel like it can make some impact, you don't – assuming that you can't get a guy like Johnny Newton or Byron Murphy, if those guys are off the board and you end up getting a Brock Bowers, that's fine. But then you make sure you need to be aggressive in the 2nd round, where you need to package up your pick and then maybe a 4th round pick and go move up. A few spots to go get him if he starts to slide. But sorry, go ahead and continue.
That's all right. I mean, it's great stuff, man. Don't listen. Don't apologize for bringing in great stuff to the show. I will, like, offensive line is not. I don't want to look at some of these tackles, but I feel like I need to. So Mims and Latham, I kind of want to see how they test and how they look as far as the drills and whatnot. There was one more guy that did work out today. Chop Robinson looked really good today, but there was a guy. A guy that I didn't know. I didn't know how he was going to look. Got the defensive lineman of the year out of UCLA, that Latu kid, and I was interested in looking at him. And man, did he look good! really fluid, did all the drills right. You could tell the coaches loved him. Like, ran good times. Like, I liked him a lot. But there's a wide receiver, because I'm on the tag and trade T. Higgins. There's a wide receiver I got my eye on out there. South Carolina, Xavier Liggett. 6'3", 227. I want to see what he runs. Because if he could be that big run after the catch point guy too, I'm feeling pretty good about that. I feel pretty good about that. So I got my eye on him. Probably an unpopular thing to say out here, because it's probably a little bit early in the draft unless you do move on from T and get an extra draft pick. But that's where
I mean, if the value is there, I think you should entertain the opportunity of going with the wide receiver in a second or third round on day 2, I should say. If the value is there. I'm looking also a guy like Xavier Worthy, out of Texas. I feel like that you just need
big
some more
body
speed
again.
element. You
Big
need
body with speed,
you need some more speed element, because as I mentioned on this show before, wide receiver can be a sneaky need for this team, especially if you don't know how the situation with T. Higgins and that contract is going to play out. Let's say that the Bengals do let's say the Bengals do forego with the option to go ahead and they just tag them and trade them away, and he's on another team. You got a couple of picks for him. I don't know how the shakedown of those picks are going to go. Number one thing is, what do you do to make the overall essence of the team better? Well, you don't need to necessarily get a wide receiver to replace T. Higgins. However, if it makes sense, go for it. But what you could do is you can get another veteran receiver. I'm thinking probably around let's see, he was playing with the Carolina Panthers, Adam Thielen. Okay. Get a guy like an Adam Thielen, draft another guy on day 2 or day 3 if the value is there. You still got Jamar Chase. All while you still got Andre Yoshivas and Charlie Jones, and you still with the assumption you're bringing back Chuck Sizzle. Oh, and then not this thought about it too. If you draft a guy like Brock Bowers and you morph this offense into something new and something different, and you obviously add in a little more explosion to the running game, and it will just be like, yes, there's going to be elements that you're going to miss regarding T. Higgins, but at the end of the day, you can't lean your whole offense just by breaking the bank in too much, just by making your offense what it was the last 3 years, because there are a plethora of guys at this receiving position in this draft that you might want to entertain. You still draft him if he's there, even if T. Higgins is still remaining on the team. So I'm pro drafting the best player if it makes your team better.
Man, would it be sexy if maybe there was a veteran out there that was wanting to catch balls from Joe Shiesty? Maybe take a 2-year, $36 million deal to see if maybe Mike Evans could come over here and snatch one. Another big body.
That would be cool, but he's also like he might be trying to get another payday himself.
Yeah, I mean, hey, who can fault him for it, right? Who can fault him for it?
Hell nah, bro. 10 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Can't fault him.
Yeah, when you got a wide receiver that is 1,000 yards every freaking year for the last 10 years, he's gonna want money. And is it what we should do? I don't know. Like this whole thing with if there's a chance to get Brock Bowers, that kind of fills in that void of us losing Tyler Boyd if we don't re-sign him to whatever a 1-year deal, whatever. We're
not going to re-sign him. I don't think we do. I don't think we should, because I think like moving him out because he's only a guy that can play in that slot now frees up Jamar Chase to go in and out.
And what I want to get to is this: is if we do get a chance to get Brock Bowers, that's going to eliminate that whole Tyler Boyd situation, period, anyways. Because, Tyler Boyd, he's always playing in the slot. If we can get a tight end that can block and can catch and go into the slot positions, and fill in, X, Y, and Z with wide receivers. We still got old Charlie Jones, and we still got Yoshi too, just like Justin just said. So but I do agree with everybody. If there is a wide receiver that makes sense and it's going to make this Cincinnati Bengals team better, then jump on that damn thing and let's go.
Yeah, and I listen. The idea of Brock Bowers as inline tight end with Jamar Chase in the slot on the same side.
Yeah.
Good luck getting him on the release. Somebody's going to be wide open.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, hey, it's that time. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back with some more Bengals talk in NFL. Welcome back to Running Through the Jungle. I'm your host, Brandon Herriott, here with hosts Tim Lyons and Justin Lacey. Make sure you're out there supporting us. We can't do this without you. We got more and more stuff coming down the pipe here at Running Through the Jungle. Go ahead and like, subscribe, share with a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend. Get on over here and get your Bengals news. We're cutting through the crap. We haven't done 72 mock drafts. You're not going to hear us doing one every week as soon as the season's over. We're going to cut through the coach speak. You don't have to sit and watch the combine and listen to all the interviews and everything. We're doing that for you so we can give you the meat and try to read through the BS lines that they're giving us and see what they're doing. So come on over here. We're going to give you a little bit more of the cliff notes, if you would. So we appreciate you guys rocking with us, as always. So some people are all about their money. And I don't know if this is a good look, a bad look, but it seems to be more and more prevalent every year. What do you guys make of guys opting out of the combine altogether? And now we're getting to the point where we're not even doing interview process. We're not even showing up in Indianapolis. We're not even coming here, to the steakhouse to have a good steak. We're not doing any of that stuff. Justin, what's your thoughts on it?
We don't really have a problem with certain players are opting out of working out the combine, only because I think that the direction of where the league has been going for quite some time is that you start to get an early feel of what college analysts and NFL analysts think about certain college players coming out of the draft, even at a freshman in college, that you can already tell like this guy is going to be projected to be a first or second round talent or a top 10, top 5 pick. So with that being said, is if they stay on track of going in that upward trajectory throughout their course of their collegiate careers, I don't think that they really need to prove very much of anything when it comes to working out in the combine, just to show NFL teams that, hey, look, I'm pro ready, where they've already kind of shown that. Now they have to get themselves ready for pro days and doing their own working out and talking to teams. If you're available and showing yourself available, that's a whole different story. But as far as like going to show up and working out in the combine, and you also got to think about it too. The college football season is a little longer. So if you're somebody that's on a Michigan staff that just played a full slate of NFL games, it seems like, and you're projected to be a top 5 pick, you're probably going to skip this workout because you literally just finished your season by winning a championship game. And now you got to turn around and get yourself ready just to come back to Lucas Oil Stadium to make sure that you can get ready to put forth your best foot forward. And it's not always going to look all that pretty. And if you don't test well, if you test like trash, then that's going to probably hurt your draft stock. So it's almost like a quarterback returning for a senior year in college when they already have the top 10 option of coming out of the draft as a junior to be a top 10 pick. There's almost like it's little to no upside if you go back for your senior season. That's kind of how I'm looking at the combine and the players deciding to opt it out. We also got to remember, Joe Burrow didn't even work out at the NFL scouting combine. They just won a national championship.
But
He didn't really need to. He came. He showed his
he
support.
interviewed.
He had those questions were going to be had, especially when it came to about the Bengals. When they was telling him that he should pull a Eli Manning and not force his way not to get drafted. Jamar Chase, he had opted out for the COVID year. He never did a full official combine. I don't even know if they even did. No, I don't think he did a combine, but he did do a pro day. And the pro day, he performed admirably well. Tested off the charts like he usually does as a supreme athlete. So it's not common that these things happen, but you would like to see guys like to show up and show out because again, you got NFL scouts, NFL GMs, ownership. Everybody's here just to watch you work, watch and see if you're ready for these moments. So again, I'm kind of indifferent about either or. I don't really care if you do it or not, but just make sure you have a really good justifiable reason. Like Johnny Newton, he just recovering from foot surgery. That's a pretty good reason why I wouldn't want to go work out if I'm him. I will be okay. I'll save my best for the pro day.
Yeah, listen, I don't have a problem with these guys like not throwing or not running a 40 or whatever it might be. Listen, if you got tightness in your hamstring, don't run the 40. You know what I mean? Like, don't blow out a tire in an interview. But come for the interviews is my thing. Like Caleb Williams just opting out of all of it, and he's saying he's not even doing a pro day. Now, that might change. Marvin Harrison, I've heard a lot of the same thing. He's just going to work out with the team. Interesting that you brought up the Michigan Wolverines because they got 18 players at this combine, which is a record, beating the Joe Burrow LSU Tigers that had 16 to set the new record by 2. So they're there. There's film right now of JJ McCarthy throwing in the convention center to Blake Corum. So they're there full effect. They're working out. They didn't care how long the season was, man. They're there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Junior Colston, obviously I'm a Michigan fan, so I know a little bit more about them than I should. But Junior Colston in his interviews, he was asked what he thought about the Michigan Wolverines setting the record and having 18 players at the combine. And he said, respectfully, I feel like we left a couple of us out. Now, my kind of guy.
I mean, Tim, I don't know if you had anything to say because I was going to comment about the Michigan team.
But go ahead. Go ahead and make your comment about Michigan.
The only thing that I'm going to say is that buyer beware about just drafting players that just won a national championship. Unless there's a few guys that that's going to make it and cut it in the NFL, just be careful, okay? As much as I applaud the success of the Michigan Wolverines for the season that they had, Jim
by
Harbaugh
no means
finally got off his back.
All 18 guys are going to be good in the NFL. That's absurd.
No, but to your point, you also brought the LSU Tigers. LSU in 2019, after the Joe Burrow led LSU, they had 14 guys drafted. Yeah, 14 guys drafted. A great amount of those, like I think 3 or 4 of them in the first round. And then obviously Jamar gets drafted the following year. Of course, we already know that. But nonetheless, you seeing how the fruits of that labor, and I brought this up before, is that when you are on a winning program and a team on a winning program, especially winning a national championship, guys start to feel like that they have like this belief that they're better than what they actually are. It's called inflated value. Some of those players, and I'm starting to see it in our own fan base. We're mocking guys like Sanstable. I can't remember pronounce that corner's name. He's a solid player.
Stanistro.
Oh, Stanistro. Okay. He's a solid player, but when I watch him, I don't feel like that he's a shutdown corner by any means. But yeah, we got Bengals fans mocking him into the 3rd round or even as early as 2nd round at that. I think you got to be careful when it comes to some of these things, is because there's a plethora of college athletes that is just going to be world renowned, and they didn't have the opportunity to play at a Michigan on a great pro style level team. But you do not ignore that this team, it sends a great message for what they're doing. Like you said, all of them are showing up there. JJ McCarthy's throwing to Blake Corum in a conference room or something like that.
Yeah.
I love the energy and enthusiasm from what I'm seeing from them.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Just the energy, getting there, doing it. I get not doing certain drills, but not coming to the combine is a little bit absurd to me. Tim, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great message. I think it's a great message for the team. I think it's a great message for the players. I think it's a great message for the coaches. I think it's a great message for the players. I think it's a great message for the coaches. I think it's a great message for the players. I think it's a great message for the coaches. I think it's a great message for the players. I think it's a great message for the coaches. I think it's a great message for the players. I think it's a great message for the coaches. I think it's a great message for the players. I think it's a great message for the coaches. I think it's a great message for the players. I think it's a great message for the coaches. I think it's a great message for the players. I think it's a great message for the coaches. I think it's a great message for the coaches. I think it's a great message for the players. I think it's a great message for the coaches. I think it's a great message for the coaches. I think it's a great message for the coaches. I think So I have my mixed feelings about this coming to the draft and coming to the combine, not coming to the combine. Like people like Caleb Williams. He didn't have the greatest season last year either. I watched him get his butt whooped by Notre Dame. I've seen it. For him to just be like, oh well, I'm not going to come to the combine at all, not even just to talk to people. I think is just I think it's absurd. I think it's absurd, and I believe that it's going to hurt his draft stock. I don't care what anybody says. I believe it's going to hurt his draft stock, but that's my own opinion. But then you got guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. There ain't no reason for him to come to the combine. Yeah, he should come and talk to people. Mingle with his class. Show his face, but just
do
to
the
not
interviews.
come at all. Do the interviews, go out to eat some steak or something. I believe that those kind of players should still show up to the combine, even though if they're not going to work out or not. Like there's a lot of these guys that opted out during the actual the bowl games because they don't want to play in the bowl games because they're afraid of getting hurt, which I understand.
Yeah.
I do. I completely understand that 100%. But when you don't perform in a bowl game or whatever, and then the combine comes and you don't even show up, that's not good news for me at all. So it doesn't sit well as a fan, and then as a now these days, since Brandon brought me into this Running Through the Jungle, I've invested more of my time looking at what's going on in the NFL instead of me just being a fanboy of what's going on with this team or that team. Now I've actually invested my time into this. So to me, it's not. I just don't believe it's a good thing. But like I said, there are guys like Harrison or Marvin Harrison Jr. It don't matter, because that dude has proven what he can do on the field. Just like Joe Burrow not performing in the combine. Who gives a crap? That dude won a national championship. He didn't have to throw. There was nothing to throw. And then, of course, during that time, they made fun of his small hands. Well,
Caleb doesn't
small hands.
Listen, Caleb doesn't need to throw either.
Right.
I just think he needs to do the interviews. The same thing with Marvin Harrison doesn't need to run a 40. I watched him run on a field against top-notch competition.
Right.
And he whatever his catch radius is, whatever his wingspan is, I've watched that guy make like contested catch after contested catch. I know what he can do. I know what he's about. He looks special to me. I don't need you to go out there and do that. Would I like to see him running the routes? Of course I would.
Oh, every fan would want to see him run the routes because it's like when he runs those routes, like, I've watched him when he was playing against, I think it was Michigan or somebody, I can't remember what it was. He ran a route and he was 10 yards behind the damn defensive backs. I was like, wait a minute, how the hell did that happen? So, of course, we would all want that.
His technique is really good. His speed is good. Like, everything about it is good. So, like, I get that we're missing out on some stuff like that, but I get he doesn't want to do that. But I just don't listen, man, go to Indianapolis, do the interviews, go to St. Elmo's, try the shrimp cocktail. It's got more horseradish in it than it does anything else. Enjoy it. But that's my take on that. Now let's get into let's segue over here back into some NFL news. It's enough talking about these college kids. They ain't NFL players yet. NFL news. Players Association with the report cards. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So C+ in ownership, honestly, is probably a step up from where we were. I think the ownership as we've started getting the Blackburn, that next level down of Brown, the next generation, I feel like we've done pretty good there. We're getting a little bit better. Head coach got an A, team travel C, strength coaches A-, weight room, training staff, training room. Those were all sore subjects last year. They invested money into it, pulled all those up to a B+. All those are top 10, which is very, very good. Locker room D+, 24th in the league. Not a big deal to me because it's presently under construction from what I understand. So that was something they kind of knew they were behind on, and they're putting money into it. They're putting money into a new field, putting new turf in. But here's something 32nd in the league in nutrition, dietitian, food cafeteria, and treatment of families. That's the treatment of the players' families. Justin, what are your thoughts on this guy?
Yeah, it's definitely an eyesore, and I expect it to be improved. One of the things that I have been hearing about the ownership group, namely Elizabeth Blackburn and her strategy of director as a director of strategy and engagement in her position within the front office, they read these report cards and take that matters very seriously. As you mentioned already, the locker room, the training room, the staff, all that stuff. It was a sore mentioning subject last offseason. They went in there and pumped it up and made it better. And as you already alluded to, is that they've already invested in bringing in a new locker room. They actually put a nice little video out to what the game day experiences is going to be like for fans and stuff like that. So that way it doesn't necessarily have to be as sort of just jumbled up and whatnot. So they're already showing a lot of great things under construction currently going on in the confines of the stadium. But going back to the food, cafeteria, nutrition, dietitian, those treatment of the families, those three categories specifically receiving an F and F minus at that, that's brutal. That is absolutely brutal and atrocious. And
Dead
that is
last
one
in
that
the league, 32.
I expect that to be better. And quite frankly, it's like this has been a long going issue for as long as I can remember being a Bengals fan. This is not just something that just came out of the wazoo. They've brought these things up in previous eras of the Bengals organization in the past. And what has always been done about it was, well, it's kind of telling you is that, well, you're a pro athlete. You should be able to hire your own guy. No, that's not right. Because if you're looking at players coming fresh out of college, well, look at the college facilities. They're state of the art. The University of Cincinnati has a better college treatment for health and nutrition program than what the Bengals offer. I mean, I can say that confidently, being that I walk over there and stuff, and I see it happening. So you think of what these college athletes going into the pro world, what they're used to, and now you telling them you're going to throw them out into the wolves that's just not acceptable. I mean, I don't know how true this is, and this is the only thing that I've heard. But I remember when T. Higgins was drafted. I think that it wasn't a report, but I think he had a mentioning to a fan that he was eating like, I think he admitted it. He ate like garbage, and then he hired a nutritionist himself to get his eating right because he ain't know what good places to eat, so that way he can keep the metabolism right and keep the natural preservatives of his food going in his body correctly. But if you have that on staff and on site already for these players, and I'm not saying you got to hire a boatload of them, maybe a couple, whatever the case may be. And then the treatment of the facilities, it really caught me off guard to learn that family members of the players and coaches basically got to wait around in the same designated areas that the fans do. That's not cool. I also heard that one of the players' wife or girlfriend was breastfeeding or changing a baby's diaper on the bathroom floor, in the public bathroom floor. That is not great. Like, they should be able to have an all access area to where those things can be taken care of in a more private manner, in a more up state of the art kind of manner. So unacceptable. And like I said, I expect this to be taken care of relatively sooner than I think. Because again, when you got somebody like Elizabeth Blackburn in the front office now, she's taking things a little bit more seriously than has ever been done before. So hopefully we're not having the same conversation next year, but we ended up having the same conversation this year. But I also understand you got so much money that you can sort of shell out to fix certain other problems. They did that for the weight room, the locker room, and all that stuff this offseason. And I think that next offseason we'll start to see a little bit of more uptick around this F minus categories here.
All right. Tim, what's your take on the NFLPA? Now, listen, this doesn't mean that the Bengals can't get people. We actually have been getting more and more free agents. Doesn't mean that we can't. The Kansas City Chiefs, I think, finished dead last in this NFLPA report. They just took home a big trophy. So, it's not the end all be all, but you would like to be better. What's your take on this?
You know, it's something that us Bengals fans, you know, it's kind of like it wasn't some of it was a surprise for me now because of what we've seen in the years past, like the ownership. You know, it was graded like I think an F like 5 or 6 years ago. You know, and with our facility changes and the upgrades of the stadium, you know, now we have indoor practice facilities for the players. You know, so the success and the the Blackburn being added to the Bengals, we're seeing changes. You know, like you said earlier, backstage was, the food and the nutrition part that can be easily fixed. Even I believe even the treatment of the families part could be easily fixed as well. Give them somewhere where, under tents or, something where they're waiting for their spouses or girlfriends or husbands or sons or, you know, you know, to meet them when as soon as they're done in the locker room. It's stuff that's easily can be fixed. And just like Justin said, I believe that Blackburn she's going to get this stuff fixed ASAP, and I think we're going to see improvement next year. Of course, I think the ownership is probably going to stay about a C plus, maybe move into a B. Who knows? It's good to see that everybody loves the head coach. Team travel, I'm not really, I didn't really read anything onto that, but I did see, about the food. I know they want I know some teams, I think they feed their players 2 to 3 times a day, stuff like that. And players wanted more, wanted to be fed. And I know I've seen reports, and I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. And I know it wasn't a Bengal; it was just some other player in the NFL. A rookie coming out of coming into the NFL. He was eating like ramen noodles and stuff, and just a bunch of crap because there was nothing being provided to them from some of these other teams. So yeah, we want to make sure that our players are taken care of. We want to make sure that their families are taken care of. We want a healthy team. We want a strong, positive feedback on this report, and it's nice to see that the improvements have been coming throughout the years. As the training room and the weight room and all that stuff. So I believe we'll see some changes.
Yeah, I also believe that. There's no reason not to believe it because what they did last year, they fixed, the locker room, training room, all those things. People that don't know my background out there, which you have no reason to, and if you have been spying on me, shame on you. But I've been in the restaurant and food business my entire life. So
Yeah.
I can tell you to hire not just one, but 2 nutritionists, dietitians, would cost them about $250,000 a year. To the food and cafeteria, the biggest thing was that they were not getting 3 meals a day. They did not, 2 years ago, they didn't do it at all. Last year, they added it that on Wednesdays they did. Where most of the other, they're one of 2 teams that don't offer 3 meals a day for every day that you're in the facility. I can tell you I live in Pittsburgh. I sell food for a living, and I can tell you the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have been one of the cheapest franchises in sports history, let alone baseball history, feed their players 3 times a day. So this is not something that's out of the ordinary, unexpected. Also, not an exorbitant expense. Like adding 1 meal a day for the 4 days a week or whatever it is, not a huge expense. Like this is not something that's going to break the bank. Treatment of families, okay, you have to put something together where they have daycare and lactation room, whatever they need as far as those kind of things for game day. So there is a little bit of an expense there as far as structural. I think that's kind of the big thing. But I look at these things and I think there's 3 F's on there that we could easily fix for about $1 million, $1.5 million for the year. You know what I mean? Like when you're looking at the big scope of what this is, that's an easy fix. Just fix it, right?
Mhm.
Then I think if you fix those things and you do, year after year, you see improvements in things. I think that ownership goes from a D to a C plus to a B, and you start seeing that grade start moving. And people see that they do care. I mean, this is their baby. This is their child. This is
Mhm.
what this family's legacy is. This is what this is Paul Brown's legacy, Mike Brown's legacy. Now it's going to be, Katie Blackburn's legacy. This is their main source of income for the family and their legacy. And I think they're going to care and put that back into it. I think this scorecard probably helps the Cincinnati Bengals on what they need to focus on and how to get better without just hearsay from here and there. I
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad thing for us, and I expect us to be better again next year. I expect us to keep moving up this ladder, and do better things. So that's it for the report card from the NFLPA and my rant. So notable cuts around the league. So we're starting to see some of the cap casualties, if you would, some notable cuts, and I know there were some people, Justin, that you hit on that were interesting to you. Anybody who caught your eye out there as far as getting cut already early in this season?
Well, you already know that the Bengals just need tight ends. They ain't got no tight ends on the roster. So Jonnu Smith was a guy that got released. I think that he will be a really good addition or pickup. I don't know how much he was getting paid, but the Atlanta Falcons know that they just couldn't restructure his salary, so they decided to cut him and just to save that money, against their cap. So I think that he'll be a really good pickup. Another guy, he's not necessarily somebody that I would say the Bengals need to give a call to nonetheless. But I do think that it was interesting that a guy that the Bengals had interest in the past and the Bengals sort of fumbled the bag there, and he ended up winning the Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady, and that was Shaq Barrett. Shaq Barrett, he would have been an incredible addition for the Bengals had the Bengals not screwed that medical situation up, whatever that was. I can't even recall exactly what was the miscommunication, but they pulled out of his deal, and it was a good deal from what Shaq Barrett says. And he ended up signing a contract with the Bucks. They ended up getting Tom Brady, and you already know that story. He also signed a really big contract extension, damn near breaking the bank. But this offseason, they're informed him that they will be releasing him, saving I think about like 15 million against the cap. Yeah, it's a pretty big cap hit for Shaq Barrett, who is now 31 years old.
Mhm.
He has been an electrifying pass rusher over the last several years, but I think that the Bengals need to, if they want to give him a call, sure, to see if they would like to get him on a team friendly deal and see if he'll be interested in joining forces with us and hey, make amends. Sorry about what happened the last time and whatnot. But nonetheless, man, don't be looking to spend big money on a guy that's already that seemingly look like he's past his prime. Already have a couple of injury histories already. He missed majority of last year with an injury. The year before with Tom Brady's final season, that was done. But those are the two guys that has been most notable to me. And I would make a phone call out to Jonnu Smith because I think that will be a nice addition to the Bengals roster when it comes to the tight end room, along with adding someone else like a Noah Fant.
I dig it. Yeah, 15 million he made last year. John who did. He ain't gonna get that.
Hell no. That's why they
Nope.
cut.
Hell to the no. Tim, who you got out there in free agency that the cuts, or you want to add something to the players that Justin spoke about?
I was looking at the cut list, and to be honest with you, I'm not really that excited about them right now. I know you guys are talking about Smith, but I don't know. Smith is just kind of. Would he be a good addition to the Cincinnati Bengals? I hope so. Um, we haven't had the best luck with tight ends, free agency signings especially last year with Irv Smith, which I think I helped him pack his bag and get him the hell out of Cincinnati. But anyways, you know, I'm just kind of like on the fence with Smith. It's just like, or not Smith, with with Smith. Sorry,
Jonnu Smith,
Jonnu
yeah.
Smith. And we're also talking about Irv Smith too. But you know, I think it would be a great addition, but for the money wise, I don't see us paying him that much either. I know Atlanta
It's a cheap
saved
deal, bro.
well, I know Atlanta
Well-
saved like six. I think it was like $6.5 million when they cut him.
$6 million, on the cap. He got
on the
paid
cap.
8.5 total last year.
So, you know, if we can bring him in, you know, for maybe 4.5, 5 for a year. Okay.
He gives me Gerald Everett vibes, you know.
If we want Gerald Everett, then we just go get
Well,
him because he's out there somewhere too.
I think he's
That's
a little
true.
bit. I think he's a little more physical than Gerald Everett is. He's got
I
a
would
little
take
more,
that.
a little more oomph to him, which I
May not be
I
as
like.
fast, but
Correct.
again, come here, play on a cheap 2-year deal or something, 2 or 3-year deal. I mean, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
$2 million, $3 million deal or something like that for a year. Again, that's not a long-term investment. We do not need
Right.
to be this revolving door like we had mentioned already. You still
Yeah.
got to go invest in the position. Like I said, along with a guy like Noah Fant, who I think will be electric in this offense. Hey, throw in Jonnu Smith in there too. You know, hey, get like you want to earn a few mil, you know, just here's your 1-year deal with us. And if you still going to get Brock Bowers, that'll just make icing on the cake. Investment in that position done.
Yeah, you know, and like that's the thing is you know, I know we're talking about tight ends, but you know, we're also looking at, and I don't know if you guys are aware, I'm sure you guys are aware of this, you know, safety positions. Nick Scott, that was an experiment that didn't pan out well, and right now we're sitting there waiting to see what's going on with Dax Hill. You know, I know, you know, they've been tossing around these rumors of, you know, is Dax Hill going to move the corner, or is he going to move the nickel, or is he going to do this? Is he going to go to free safety? Is he going to go to strong safety? You know, so I don't know. I know we don't have any free agents or notable cuts on safeties right now, but you know, that's another position that we should be looking at too if there's a veteran out there.
Well, the Bears did release Eddie Jackson. I forgot to mention that.
Yep. Yeah, Eddie Jackson, Xavier Howard were both on my cut list. Like, if you want to kick the tires, if you get somebody on a good deal, listen. I know Xavier Howard's been injured, but he's still a damn good corner when he's not. And if you want to kick the tires on a team-friendly deal because he thinks he might be able to come here and win,
Man,
you know,
why not?
I mean, we've spent money worse ways.
Yeah.
Hell, we had Eli Apple for several years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good Lord. Thanks for that one.
You're welcome. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at 2021. In 2021, Uzama had 493. Jonnu Smith had almost 600 yards last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that. I don't know. We haven't had anybody have that kind of tight end year since Joe Burrow's been here.
True.
So I don't know, man. I think it's worth taking a look at. Jonnu Smith is, if you can get him for the right number. I mean,
right.
I'm not paying anybody, just absorbing an amount of money. Drew Sample led in 2020 with 349. So yeah, I'm not giving them, or like, if we can get a $4 million, $5 million deal, maybe we look at Jonnu Smith then. But yeah, I think Eddie Jackson might be the one guy I like the most. If you can get a real friendly deal on Emmanuel Ogbah and just have more depth on D line, I'll take more depth on D line.
Yeah.
Same.
I think Shaq Barrett's going to price himself out. But all right, guys, that's going to be it. If you have not hit that thumbs up, hit that thumbs up if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're watching, rocking this track jacket, man, for those of you listening on Spotify and Apple, you're missing out this time. Looking good. Yeah. You got a nice hat on too, Tim. Yeah, like us, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, bring everybody over here, Houday, over to Runnin' to the Jungle. We appreciate you guys. Guys, I'm going to flip it back around real quick. Closing thoughts. Tim, you got anything on the way out the door?
I just want to say to everybody, thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you for following us. Thank you for listening. One thing I do want to end off saying is happy 13th birthday to my big brother. Happy birthday, bro.
Leap.
Oh
Baby.
yes, the leap year.
Yeah,
I forgot
turning
about
the big
that.
13. So happy birthday.
Right. And to be honest with you, if you know Tom,
He's the X13.
it's about his maturity level, 13. I like it.
Yes, sir.
Justin, what you got?
Nothing much from me other than I'm just going to just keep watching football and just keep watching the combine, and the draft is going to be right around the corner sooner than we know. Then we're going to actually start talking about the first round and then the second round, and then we're going to be talking about the schedule release and stuff. And then before we know it, kickoff for the NFL 2024 season is going to be here. So we got a ways to go for this long-winded off season, but we in it together.
I dig it. I mean, here we are in the middle of off season, and we're already talking for over an hour, man. There is no off season in football anymore. As I talked about earlier in the show, a lot of traveling recently for myself. Michigan, Atlanta, then came back, got COVID, and men kind of take a bad rap sometimes about being kind of babies when we're sick and whatnot, and I'm one of those guys. I don't like it. I get, and it's less about me feeling bad that I get, moody with or upset with. Cabin fever, bro. You can't quarantining for me, worst thing in the world. I got to do stuff. I was sick, sweating, and I'm cleaning the house. It's just the way I am. But I want to take a second. I have a beautiful lady in my life. Jess has been amazing this past week, helping me run to the store, get me things I need, got me things that I didn't even ask for that helped me out immensely this week, got me back on the road to recovery a lot faster. She's an amazing woman. She puts up with all my BS. And I really think I'm funnier than I am, and she has to live with it. So I appreciate her more than I can say. She's right now, she is in Myrtle Beach. She flew out today. She is running in a marathon this weekend, running a half marathon in Myrtle Beach. She's an amazing woman, man, and I'm blessed. Thank you, Jess.
Hey, much love to the ladies.
So that's going to do it for us here. Again, we're going to be talking about Combine at Underwear Olympics. So next week's going to be just as good. Catch us next week as we are running through the jungle.